A lot of women are not actually healing anymore. They are hiding inside podcasts, inside journaling, inside self awareness, inside protecting their peace. At some point, healing stopped being recovery and became an identity. And I know this because I did it too. At some point, healing stopped being recovery and became an identity because healing feels safe. Building a new life doesn't. And I think this is the conversation women actually need right now. Not more fake empowerment, not another quote about knowing your worth, not another rest, feminine energy, receive video while your real life is quietly falling apart in the background. Because eventually there comes a moment where you realize you cannot heal your way into a different life without action. At some point, you have to rebuild. The self-improvement industry exploded over the last few years, and some of it genuinely helped people. Women finally started understanding trauma, burnout, emotional exhaustion, toxic relationships, nervous system dysregulation. That awareness mattered. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. A lot of women became trapped in self-analysis, constantly asking, what happened to me? How do I heal? How do I feel safe? How do I stop being triggered? How do I protect my energy? And listen carefully. I'm not mocking healing. Some women went through real pain, real abandonment, real emotional survival. But healing was supposed to help you return to life, not disconnect from it completely. And I think many women are exhausted because deep down, they know they've been standing still for years, consuming content, watching videos, reading books, learning more and more and more, but not actually building anything. No financial stability, no new identity, no momentum, no future that feels solid, just awareness. And awareness alone does not change your life because healing feels productive without requiring risk. That's the part nobody talks about. Researching yourself feels safer than rebuilding yourself. Watching another video about trauma feels safer than starting something that could fail. Self-awareness gives the feeling of movement without the danger of exposure. Because the moment you try to build something real, a business, a new career, a platform, a different life, you can be judged, ignored, rejected. You might fail publicly, and for women who already feel emotionally fragile, that feels terrifying. So the brain chooses safety. More healing, more preparation, more waiting, more one day when I feel ready. But readiness is one of the biggest lies people tell themselves. Most people do not become confident first. They become confident after surviving what they thought they couldn't survive. That's how confidence is actually built, not through affirmations, through evidence. Build evidence that you can trust yourself again, because so many women no longer trust themselves. Not after heartbreak, not after survival mode, not after years of disappointment, not after becoming emotionally exhausted. So they stay in observation mode, thinking about life instead of participating in it. And honestly, the internet profits from this cycle because a woman who is constantly healing is easier to sell to. There is always another course, another meditation, another breakthrough, another coach, another missing piece. And the algorithm rewards emotional dependency, not empowerment. The internet has normalized endless emotional processing without practical rebuilding. And sometimes what women actually need is not another deep conversation about their inner child. Sometimes they need income, structure, purpose, routine, direction, momentum, because uncertainty destroys the nervous system. People talk constantly about anxiety, but financial instability creates enormous emotional stress. When your life feels unstable, your brain cannot relax. You are constantly calculating survival. And I think many women call themselves broken when they are actually stuck in chronic uncertainty. That's different. And no amount of healing content fixes the pain of feeling powerless in your own life. What started changing me was not understanding myself more. It was starting to rebuild my life. Slowly, imperfectly, awkwardly, and honestly. At first it felt horrible because rebuilding forces you to face reality. You see your fears, your avoidance, your inconsistency, your excuses, your lack of structure. But something powerful also happens. You start creating evidence. Evidence that you can survive discomfort. Evidence that you can learn. Evidence that you can adapt. Evidence that you are not as powerless as you thought. And eventually, your identity starts changing naturally. Not because you repeated, I am worthy, but because your brain saw proof, real proof. That is how trust returns. Not through fantasy, through action. Tiny action repeated long enough that your nervous system finally believes, maybe I can handle my life after all. And this is why I actually believe we are entering a completely different era for women, especially women over 35. Because for the first time, you do not need to become a perfect influencer to rebuild your life online. AI changed everything. Faceless brands, digital businesses, remote work, content creation, online skills. The barrier is lower than people realize, but mentally, many women are still trapped in survival identity, still waiting for permission, still waiting to feel healed enough, confident enough, ready enough. Meanwhile, the world is changing fast. And I think the women who rebuild over the next few years will not necessarily be the most talented. They will be the women willing to move while still uncertain. That is the difference. Maybe healing is not supposed to become your permanent home. Maybe it was only supposed to be the bridge between survival and rebuilding. And maybe the next stage of your life is not about understanding yourself more. Maybe it is about building evidence that you can trust yourself again. Evidence through action, evidence through responsibility, evidence through creation, evidence through rebuilding. It is something you build, one decision at a time. And maybe the real goal is not becoming perfectly healed. Maybe the goal is finally building a life you no longer need to escape from,